What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Bobby Five back with my man, Eric Sheets-Haber, doing a Fanduel lineup building show here for you. Fun little slate here today. Also exciting to announce that I have joined RotoQL/BetQL, and we are working together on creating a live show that's going to focus on DFS and sports betting in general. We'll be on daily, and we'll hope you join those for us. For those, in addition to these videos, I'll have more details to follow. But yeah, exciting day over here, Sheets, and ready to get into a little Fanduel talk.
Yeah, let's get it going. I actually found that when I was doing some FanDuel stuff, I was able to find some interesting pivots on FanDuel today, and I think that the going through position by position and finding pivots along the way is actually proven to put some decent construction together and hopefully given some people some direction of where to go on these slates. I got a couple of messages. I got one actually right on our channel saying, well, I really like the videos, especially the FanDuel. So, for those of you that are drawn to the FanDuel one, that's great. I'm glad that we're doing it in this way for this particular site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think it's going well, and I think people really do appreciate the way that they've been going, and been really haven't heard a lot of negative feedback, and really appreciate the positive. But I'm also happy to hear any criticisms, anything you guys would like to see differently too. Always here for that. We've got an interesting one on FanDuel because it's a very different slate than it is on DraftKings to me. I really think the point guard position again is loaded, and I think we should start there. Yeah. Some automatic play you feel like we have to plug in somewhere else.
Okay, so for me, like the main ownership and the main source of values are going to come by paying down somewhat. So it looks like guys like Kendrick Nunn, and then to some degree, maybe even Reggie Jackson or Jalen Brunson, guys like that. Reggie Jackson a little more expensive, are going to be pretty popular and pretty good plays. And then if you want to pay up a little bit, if you want to pay up, then De'Aaron Fox is certainly a really good play also. The first guy I would add to that kind of list, now again, there are two guys I was thinking of. One is going to be Malcolm Brogdon, and the other one is because I've kind of drawn to this idea on DraftKings a little bit. If you want to take a lower owned guy than all this stuff who could have a really, really good game is Kyle Lowry. At 7,200 against Minnesota, he's going to be, I would say, significantly less owned than Fox at a similar price tag. So you can get kind of instant leverage off of that. I think he's going to be probably less owned than Dinwiddie. I'm not sure, but I definitely think he's going to be less owned than Fox. So if you wanted to pivot off of him a little bit and still pay up, I think that Lowry could be a good way to get off of that.
Okay, so I don't like the paying up at point guard on FanDuel. I just don't think there's a reason to. Look, if I'm gonna, Reggie Jackson is a much better play over here than he is on DraftKings, and I like a Reggie Jackson Dragic pairing or a Reggie Jackson Nunn pairing, or
Reggie Jackson who?
Nunn.
No, but you said Reggie Jackson who?
Nunn.
Oh, I thought you said Reggie Jackson something over a Reggie Jackson Nunn. Okay.
No, I just like Reggie Jackson, Nunn, Dragic.
Okay.
Bowman, and I'm trying to see who I'm using as my other point guard.
You like the Miami guy? You like the other one?
Bowman
is shooting guard.
But I don't. Jalen Brunson.
Okay.
Jalen Brunson is a fantastic play at this price. So I just don't see any reason to get creative and go play any of these more expensive guys. I don't think this is creative. I think these are easy plays. The problem is there's a lot of them. I just think that's the side I'm going with above the others. That's just where I'm at currently.
I do happen to like both Jalen Brunson and Nunn. And again, it goes back to we discussed on DraftKings a little bit, where I'm kind of more in the line of, boy, which one of these guys do I play? You're like, well, screw it, just play them both.
That's what I'm doing. I currently, in my two big lineups, just to give it away, I have a Jalen Brunson, Kendrick Nunn build, and I Dragic, Reggie Jackson build.
Okay.
That's the way I'm going. I'm actually going to take a quick look. What are we at Dragic ownership wise? I would imagine. Yeah, I think that ownership is just too low on him, just because of Nunn being cheaper. So I love the Dragic pivot from Nunn.
Okay, so far we're giving you two different ways to go. One paying up a little bit, one paying down at both, and we're going to see where Bobby makes up for that. You know what I mean? When you pay down one place, you get to pay up somewhere else. So let's see what we can do about that. So shooting guard, nothing seemed okay. So it's so interesting. So shooting guard, there were two different ways that I could go, depending on where I went at other positions. So same type of deal. Like if you wanted to pay all the way down, you could go down as much as Bruce Brown, who's probably going to be, I guess I want to say the chalkiest. I mean, I haven't really looked too hard at the ownership projections. I presume he's going to be really chalky, but it's going to be either Bruce Brown or the other value at the position. Two others, Duncan Robinson and the Atlanta guy, and Herter. I'm not a Duncan Robinson kind of guy. I mean, the guy that's just so scoring dependent on FanDuel is kind of a little scary to me. So I would rank Brown and Herter above Robinson if it were just between those three. Evan Fournier is going to pop as a, as usual, kind of an okay play, good play on FanDuel that's probably never going to win you a tournament by himself. But if you need 5,600, I have no problem with that. Two guys I want to talk about. One guy who's going to be really, really chalky on DraftKings, with maybe, and obviously not nearly as popular on FanDuel because of his price, is going to be Oladipo. And, in joking, not even joking, when we were talking about DraftKings with him at 4,200, I said, I'd probably play him if he was 5,500, on DraftKings. Mm-hmm. So I think that people that play both sites, if they're considering playing Oladipo on FanDuel, they'll say, why do I need to play him at 5,300 on FanDuel if I can play him at 4,200 on DraftKings? But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's a bad play on FanDuel, just because he's a better play on DraftKings. So I think that if that will reduce his ownership to a decent extent, I think he could be kind of an interesting way to go on FanDuel as opposed to DraftKings. So that's one thing I consider. And the other one, because I got into this at the end and I can make this work, is to just totally just trash all of this and pay all the way up for Devin Booker at 8K. That is the other, that lends to the other construction, which I'll get to later, which involves me not paying 10K for Towns. But I do think paying up for Booker is definitely another way to go.
Yeah, so I'm not as crazy about the value at shooting guard, which is why I love the Oladipo play. I love Oladipo and running right back with LeVert on the other side. I just think that's a great way to go. I think LeVert is way too cheap over here. I think you're going to get low ownership on that combo. I also think the other way to go is to pay up a little bit here and to play the guys who I'm leaning to. I'm not as high on Lowry as you are today, but I am high on Van Vliet. And I think at 6,700, he's kind of an interesting pay-ish up with, you could play him with Booker. So I've actually got sort of both ways of going, but it's LeVert, Oladipo, Booker, and Van Vliet are the guys I'm definitely looking at the most at the moment. I think Herter, it always worries me. Guy plays 48 minutes the day before, literally 48 minutes. Little worrisome, high ownership, obviously, can crush, but tough matchup. Bruce Brown, I think, is a fine play, but I'm just gonna lean the other way with these guys. That's just what I like better. And honestly, if I was gonna play someone in that range, I think I might lean Damian Lee over those other guys. I'm willing to take a shot at least at 4,900 because I'm going to be playing some Miami guys.
Yeah. What's Damian Lee over here?
49. It's not like, awesome, but I think Damian Lee outscores Herter and Brown plenty here. Now, obviously, they're a little bit cheaper, but he could outscore them by 10. I mean, that's very much on the table.
Okay. Small forward. So there were a lot of guys that kind of ranked similarly, especially with respect to ownership on small forward. So, like one guy who I don't know why I thought he'd be sneaky, but he's definitely a ownership. But Jay Crowder at 4,200 seems really, really good. For all the reasons we discussed on DraftKings, which we really didn't spend too much time on it. I mean, he's got incredible upside. He's in a good matchup. And on FanDuel, he's only 4,200. I think he's a really, really good play if you wanted to pay down. Now, again, you could certainly pay all the way up for Giannis or LeBron. I'm certainly not going to tell you can't do that. As a matter of fact, if I had to rank them, I guess Giannis would be my favorite of the two. Now, again, Oubre is getting a bunch of ownership also, as he usually does on FanDuel. I would just kind of prefer Booker over Oubre. I mean, Oubre looks to be kind of a good play. I mean, certainly looks to be a good play, but at high ownership, I just don't think I would go there. The guy that I kind of want to play at low ownership, as he's seeming to have every game now, is Siakam. Again, going back to this Toronto game, even on FanDuel.
Wait, Siakam is a power forward, though.
Siakam's small forward.
Whoa, he is? How did
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Siakam. My fault. I'm sorry. I for some reason, at first, I thought you said Ibaka.
Yeah, I mean, I consider him one of my,
Yeah.
top plays, and he's not really gaining as much ownership as these other guys. And I mean, for me, I'll take him over freaking like Andrew Wiggins. You know what I mean? I'll even take him over. I will take him over Oubre. I think Siakam's a really, really strong player, but he's really going to be only 10, 15% owned. I think it's against the Minnesota team. I like this a lot, actually.
Yeah. I like it a lot. I love Siakam. He's one of the main small forwards I'm using, along with Jay Crowder. I think Joe Ingles is a terrific pivot off of Jay Crowder, 4,400. There is upside in that game, especially if we get a limited Mike Conley on the back-to-back. Or no Mike Conley. So Joe Ingles at 44 definitely stands out to me. The minutes make Mikal Bridges seem interesting, but I think I'm not going to go there. I think I'm just going to end up mostly with those guys, and then I've got Tim Hardaway Jr. and Kelly Oubre as the two other guys I'm using. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a good play.
What's that?
Tim Hardaway Jr. is a good play.
These guys are all really cheap.
Yeah.
Hardaway at 48, Ingles at 44. Like you said, if you get Conley out, as a matter of fact, this could be one of those, right, where you don't have the news and you just play Ingles.
Yep. And even look, you have plenty of ways to get there. He's going to play 30 minutes anyway. You know what I mean? You're not really. It's a strong play. It's not quite when we were getting 4,000 unowned Miles Bridges, but it is still a strong play.
Hey, you were giving it out. If nobody played it, that's not everybody else's fault. That's not your fault.
That's right.
Didn't matter. It was 4,200, 4,500, 40, 5,100. He kept on getting his 35 to 40. Kept on being 4% owned. And hey, that's why if we only have 600, 700 followers, it's only 600 or 700 people that are going to play him. So that's good for you.
Yeah, there it is. One other guy who does stand out, by the way, tonight a little bit from a matchup point of view and his price is Bojan. And I don't like playing Bojan very much, Bogdanovic, because he had a game earlier this year for me where he scored 35 real life points and had 34.5 fantasy points. That's kind of stuff frustrates me, but I do think that at 5,600, like against Dallas, could easily shoot his way into a nice game. But I don't want to, go crazy and name a million plays. The paying up for LeBron and Giannis are probably the other viable options in addition to what I mentioned that I'm doing. I would give the edge to Giannis, but I like playing Booker, and I think you get a cheaper LeBron over here. So I maybe would go for a Booker LeBron lineup here too. Or Booker and Davis. I'm sort of debating which one. But I think, I like some of these speculative values at small forward. I think I like power forward potentially a little bit better.
Yeah, I'll tell you a couple of things based on what we just said. So one of the things preventing me from paying up a point guard is my desire to do something that you just mentioned, is maybe do a Booker LeBron or a Booker Davis run back at some point. The other thing I'll mention is I don't know whether this was intentional, but, on DraftKings, I did like a 5-minute dissertation using Bojan Bogdanovic as a poster boy for someone you should never play, because he just kind of shows up on all the optimals or whatever, but he just never seems to do anything. But at 5,600, I mean, you're kind of getting there where it's kind of where you can. You don't need that much to get there anymore. I mean, if you think about it, even of these games, you get 2 out of 10, at least 20% of the results you're kind of happy with. Is that enough? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how I feel about that.
I think he's going to be your guy, not mine. I don't know.
No, Bojan, I'm not playing him really. I'm just saying that he's an interesting play. I'm deciding whether or not I want to play him.
Okay.
Because I am playing. So basically, I'm playing Porzingis. I already mentioned Hardaway, who I like, and Jalen Brunson. And if I'm going to play Porzingis also, who we're going to get to in a minute, I kind of want to play some, some of these.
Hey, if you want to put another $4,300 shuffle, small forward into your $4,300 shuffle, along with your Ingles and Crowder or whatever, And this guy doesn't really excite people too much, but you get 30-plus minutes out of Dorian Finney-Smith at 4,300.
Yeah.
He could be interesting too.
Yeah, absolutely has some tournament upside. I actually think he's going to have higher ownership than like Ingles will. So I would rather speculate on Ingles, but I think he's fine too. I just prefer the other guys a little bit above him.
Okay.
So let's move to power forward. We got some, like, I think there are some really, really strong plays here. Certain prices really stand out. Who do you have as your priorities? You look like you got
my favorite guy, my favorite power forward, given price, given everything, is unfortunately the highest owned. So I'm not going to probably use both these guys. So the three best plays, unfortunately for me, are the three highest owned, which are going to be AD, Sabonis, and Ibaka. Now the only question is how much better are they than some of the other guys? And I have to say, not enough where I would just play the chalk in that position. Like, for example, like I would go down in kind of projections to three other guys to consider, all right? And I'm going to put them at one of them is going to be someone who I'm not – he has a difficult game environment, I think, because of possible blowout risk and other stuff, but maybe John Collins could be one way. Another – and the other two guys I think are more interesting is one we talked about a little bit on DraftKings, and that's going to be Bam. He's definitely a little pricey, but I think that he is just close enough to, you know, the value of those other guys that I would probably take a shot at him. And the other guy who's going to look really, really, really expensive, but Christian Wood at 8,100 could be another way to go. Now, it seems kind of criminal to take Christian Wood at 8,100 over Sabonis at 7,800. But he's projecting close enough that if he's got just 1/3 the ownership, I might have to take a shot. So I really didn't get down in price to anybody else at the position. So I'm curious to see where you kind of come out on here.
Yeah, I mean, we could make some arguments for a couple spend downs, but like taking shots on, but I'm not really going to because I think there's other spots. I think it would be Pascal or Kleber, but I don't really feel good enough about it to play either of those guys, to be honest with you. I do think that Jared Allen at 5,400 just sort of stands out as a price thing because they're going to need a lot of minutes from both bigs in that game.
That's interesting.
So that's way off the board. But I do like Christian Wood. I do like Wood and Sabonis, and you can play them together. I have no problem with that. Again, I'm also running some Brooklyn guys, so I don't mind getting some Sabonis action, even though he's going to be chalky. I like Ibaka, but again, like you said, these guys are close. I think I do prefer Bam actually to these other guys. I think that I have Bam just barely. Bam and Sabonis would be my 1 and 1A over here, and then I would look at the Ibaka. I don't really care that I'm going to go more with the field here because I'm going to play Ibaka, and then I'm also going to play Christian Wood. So that's when people aren't going to be doing it.
Yeah, Christian Wood can't get that much ownership at 8,100. He just can't.
He absolutely can smash. Like, he really can. He's got upside here. I'm telling you, like, we haven't seen the ceiling yet on this guy. Well, maybe we have, but he's put 60 up before. Like,
he put up 60 at 3K or something like that, right? I don't know what the hell that was.
Like in 25 minutes. I mean, he's a monster.
All right, so at center, there are, I want to say 2 misprices, but there are 2 really, really strong price plays, which are going to be garnering a lot of the ownership. And, you know, the good thing is that there are ways to pivot off, and the question is, do you want to do it? So the 2 guys are going to be Vooch and Gobert. Just to take Cat out for a minute. So just to put these guys in. So Vooch is going to be what? He's going to be 8,600 here, which makes him a little bit better than on DraftKings, especially given, you know, the construction and all that stuff. He's going to be popular, and the other guy who's going to be really popular for good reason is Gobert, who is only 7,700, which, you know, even though he's on a back-to-back, it's a pretty nasty misprice as far as I'm concerned. It's a really, really good value for him too. So if I had to choose between the 2 of them, you know, I wouldn't be on brand if I didn't suggest that Vooch had more risk than Gobert, just because of the spread that Atlanta's coming off of, which I think is low anyway. And I think Atlanta coming off a double overtime game, I think this game could be over. I think that Vooch has downside to his minutes more than upside. And I just really think that his ceiling is not quite as, I don't want to say probable, but I do think that there's more risk than Gobert. So I prefer Gobert to Vooch as far as that's concerned. The 2 ways you could go if you wanted to pivot off of those guys are both pay up options, and they're both going to be Jokic at what seems to be ridiculous 11-3, or you could play Towns at 10K. And both of them are going to be really low owned. They both have, pretty big ceilings in general. I think the Towns play makes more sense to me with what I want to do, because I do happen to like the Siakams and the Lowrys and things like that. So where I didn't really like too much from Denver. So if I had to pivot, I would pick Towns as the better pivot than Jokic here. And then the other thing you could do, again, as always, you could just plow and pay all the way down. And this has more risk than it did a couple of days ago. But you want to go play 4,100 for Thon Maker? Go for it. He's still, even with Henson there, he's going to probably get 20 minutes. If you think that's enough for you, that's fine if it could get you other stuff elsewhere. But those are really my only options here.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got it real simple. Like, I'm just going to play Gobert and Towns as two different ones. I have no idea why no one's going to play Karl Anthony Towns tonight. Like, I love Cat. When I see his projected ownership here, I'm all over it. Not to mention, I like the Toronto guys. So I actually have lineups with like Siakam, Ibaka, and Towns, like Van Vliet and Towns and Ibaka, Van Vliet, Siakam, and Towns. I like Towns. I want to take a shot here. He's where I'm swinging. And then where I'm playing the Kristapses, the Hardaways, I'm playing Gobert and Brunson, obviously. So I can even have all three of those guys in the lineup, or two of the three, and play that with Gobert running it back. Maybe throw in Joe Ingles in that small forward in that lineup as well.
You know what you mentioned, that we really didn't talk about this too much at power forward. I don't think we even talked about this. So you like Kristaps on a power forward here at 9,100?
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. That was what I messed up on. I don't.
Yeah, because on FanDuel, you're going to get him probably really low owned.
Yeah, so you can play the chalky Gobert at center when you're playing him there, and you're playing Hardaway. I think that's a solid little mini stack there. And then you also run in Joe Ingles at 4,400, where I would be pivoting off of playing 4,200. What's his name? So you are differentiating enough by having that little 4-man combo from that game stack that I like.
Well,
if you want to get crazy with it, you can play Mitchell too, really speculating. But I think that just keeping it to two of them is the way I want to go.
Well, I think that when you look through these FanDuel picks, as we kind of like go through them, like two games, at least for me, really stood out as where you're going to end up attacking. And one's going to be the Toronto game, if you opt to go that route, just with some of these plays. And the other is going to be what could be really intriguing is the Dallas-Utah game.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't think that in general, but, if you could get Kristaps at really low owned, like you said, 9,100 or whatever, low owned, kind of expensive 9,100, and then you could play your Brunson, you know what I mean, who's going to be much chalkier, and you could do a Gobert with whoever, Gobert with Ingles, Gobert with Mitchell if you want, you could try your Bojan if you felt like it, So I think that the way FanDuel is kind of playing out, it kind of leads you to those two games. Because we didn't really talk too much about some of this Milwaukee-Sacramento stuff here. And it's funny because when you go game by game, you think of it in one way, but you go position by position, you think of it another way. And we just didn't, weren't too thrilled with a lot of the Sacramento guys on FanDuel. So, and likewise with the Brooklyn, Indiana, we weren't as, we didn't feel as though Oladipo was much of a lock over there. So, on FanDuel. So we didn't really spend as much time on Brooklyn. But maybe that'll be the third game. Like if you want to go play Sabonis' chalk and then maybe run it back with, I don't know. We really didn't like too many people in Brooklyn. Maybe the Indiana game's not as intriguing over here.
I like LeVert a lot.
Okay.
So I don't need anybody else. I can just play LeVert, or you could throw a Prince in there. Like he's
right.
Small forward. He could fight for these guys for those points. Like there's no reason he's gonna have no ownership.
Yeah.
I think you can get a lot from just trying to maybe coordinate a little bit in a spot or two here and there, like I did with the Utah. What's it called situation? Playing Porzingis. Play that Porzingis lineup with the two of the Jazz, because that's a good spot.
You know what? I would be remiss if I didn't just address one guy, okay? Because I spent a little time talking about him on DraftKings and not so much on FanDuel. So I talked about Trae Young today, and I feel as though I do, just because he always has, people are he's kind of a battleground. Like first of all, he's going to be the highest salary guy, right, on point guard. So I want to at least talk about him. The reason why, again, I just don't like him today is, again, I have different views than a lot of DFS guys. A lot of DFS guys don't really care about the back-to-backs or, just whatever. And I just feel as though coming off a double overtime game, going into Orlando is just such a difficult matchup. And yes, I know that as a result, he's going to be really low owned. And yeah, I know that there's always a certain chance that he's Trae Young and he could just do it, whatever. But I just feel as though you're giving up, like you said, these are two very strong values, for example, that Bobby's considering playing at point guard between Brunson, Nunn, and the other guy. Who's the other guy? Dragic, for example. Like, you want to choose those three value guys. It's not as if, like, you play Trae Young, you're giving up the opportunity cost at Brunson and Nunn. What you're giving up is the opportunity cost for what Brunson and Nunn give you at the other positions, right? So that's why all those combined is why I'm probably not playing Trae Young.
Right. That's the only thing that makes me want to play Trae Young is that it's bizarre to me that at this price he's going to be low owned, just ever, But I don't see I feel like these guys under 6K, at least 4 of them I think hit 35. I really do. So even if Trae Young scores 70 at double the price for most of these guys, it's not like you're like dead at all. It's just you get that point elsewhere. Like it's just there's too many guys. And by the way, these guys could get you 90 between the two of them, which would make it like, oh my God. So even if you got 65 from Trae, you're going to need another, big scorer on the other side. Like, I don't know. Just I like the lineup construction like this.
Well, you know what? If you were like, where you could play Trae, like if you wanted to play a chalky Vooch, or if you wanted to play what could be a chalky, unexciting Fournier, right? And hope that, and try to get upside from him. Maybe you run Trae with both those guys or something like that. But I think I just do think you're giving up a little much taking Trae.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at too, even though, again, it is always tempting with that ownership. And by the way, I keep getting these messages, DMs from people saying, who are we playing tonight? Like, look, watch the videos, do the things, you know what I mean? I'm not going to just DM a million different people all day. I can't do that.
Well, this is what I would say. I mean, I should probably talk about this offline, but going back to when I did poker, the reason why I eventually did the website was that I had so many people individually coming after me saying, oh, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Can you coach me this? Can you coach me this? I just felt that was the easiest way to do it, was just to do it all for like everybody at the same time. So that when, I figured I could serve the most people that way. And then like, if I had like an individual like chat, then I can make room for some questions and stuff like that. But I feel as though, Bob, you kind of will go overboard. Like if you're going to, that's why I say, don't really, honestly, like don't tweet at me like during the day, like, ooh, who do you like between this and this? Because honestly, we're going over it here, and sometimes Bobby will spend time to go over a live thing too. And Bobby's a little, now I say sarcastic, you want to know who we like, just watch the freaking video. But in a way, you know what I mean? Like in a way that's true, but in another way, who we like depends on who else we like. You know what I mean? Like there are going to be lineups where I think Sabonis is just an atrocious play, right? And there are going to other be lineups where I just really have to have him because I have such off-the-board stuff elsewhere that I need kind of the safety of him. So, just to ask us, who do you like? I know it feels like a cop-out, but it does depend. And when you can understand that, you're going to be a lot much better off. So if you want to come to our live stuff and ask questions, or like if we do more live chats, certainly cool. But I think that like DMing like Bobby along the way saying, well, what about this guy? Or like, what about this guy? Bobby's been like way too nice and like responding to all of them. You know what I mean? But yeah, look at the videos for just kind of an overview of who's in play and different ideas of what you could do. And if you want to come to a live thing later, then we can maybe answer some questions.
But also, if you ask it publicly if you at me on Twitter rather than DMing me, or if you write on our YouTube videos the questions, I'm much more likely to be able to respond, because then I'm sort of responding to, so everyone can see it at once. I don't have to write Jalen Brunson 30 different times,
Right.
So Jalen Brunson. All right, Sheets, this has been a fun one. I think that I'm going to make my bold call of the day that Porzingis is on the winning lineup on Fanduel.
There wasn't too much negativity in there in that last rant on me, was it? People aren't saying like, Eric Sheets, why are you being a dick for saying that?
No, which part?
I don't know, about the don't DM him about all individual plays and stuff.
No.
I thought it was all right?
Yeah, no problem at all.
I'm just trying to help, right?
Yeah, yeah, appreciate it.
All right. So my bold call is going to be Booker gets 70.
Okay, I like it.
That's
Porzingis, Booker, Town, somewhere in that range. Those are the differentiators for me on FanDuel as well. So we're on the same page, buddy. Let's take home the big ones tonight, guys. Good luck to y'all. We will see you at the top of the leaderboard. Best of luck. And yeah, let's check out the Red OQL show a little later. I'm really excited to be joined up with these guys. Any questions, any thoughts? Come on in.
Do we know when that is yet or no?
Yeah, it's going to be, we're right today is going to be 5 Eastern. I don't know. I don't want to plan it to be that time in general. I'd like to give the people from RG their time and go on maybe before them. I would go on maybe at 4:30 Eastern daily, and then we would bring you in. We bring some other people in here and there. But we're just figuring it out as we go. But it's an exciting opportunity.
Are you going to put that link in this tweet too, or?
I'll put it somewhere in there later. I don't have everything together right now. We actually might have to do today's on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
They're setting theirs up right now, and there's some technical issues. So it's just growing pains. That's why I'm not sort of out there saying it. Although a lot of positive responses. I'm constantly getting a ton of congratulation messages, personal messages from all the guys at Roto Grinders and a lot of the people who've been with me along the way. And I think this is a good opportunity for not just me, but for you Sheets as well. Like it's strengthening our position in the industry, and I think it's working with a great company that does as good of projections as there are out there. So I'm looking
just remember when you look at content and you see it's start up, there could be technical difficulties along the way. I'm telling you, my first PXF video was a train wreck. Our first, how long did it take us to figure out our OBS and YouTube live thing and our first thing? Remember, every well-polished bit of content always starts off with a train wreck. So excuse the train wreck. The train wreck will be cleared out.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, appreciate you tuning in. Good luck. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.